Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WrestleMania 31, aka WrestleMania play button, preview and predictions.
Oh, baby. What's up, guys? It's John, a.k.a. VocalAggression, alongside my cohort and commentary here. Yes, as you just heard, it is WrestleMania 31 preview and predictions. And Ashton, man, this WrestleMania has been an absolute roller coaster in terms of the hype and the emotion that I feel like the fan base feels. But because before we came to this video, the dominant feeling for a long time was, there was some hype there, probably because it just was WrestleMania and some matches on the card. But really, it felt like a below-average SummerSlam, if you will, or just something of that nature. Now, though, it's amazing how, at least for me, one re-signing can make all the difference in the world.
Well, it's amazing how much one re-signing can make all the difference in the world for you. But for me, it's amazing how much overthinking stuff can make a difference for me. Because I have overthought this card to death, and all it's done is gotten me more hyped for this show.
I saw a little morsel of that overthinking, I would like to believe, Ashton, on Tweetoff, a pro wrestling group that everybody should
know. Oh,
yeah,
you sure did.
I did, and I'm not going to disclose anything here because I'm going to leave that magic to you. But guys, if he does share it here, which I have no reason to believe that he won't, you're in for something, because I'm reading it and I'm thinking, holy crap, we've got possibility, baby, and it feels good. So, Ashton, do you want to get just right into this thing?
Yeah, sure. If you want to, let's do it.
All right. Do you want to open up? I obviously will open up.
Well, here's the thing, dude. So. We have the pre-show, and we've got 2 matches on the pre-show now, which, I guess it kind of makes sense because the pre-show is going to be 2 hours, so you would hope that they would try and fill it up with a little bit more than just talking for 2 hours and maybe, talking for an hour and a half and then one more match. So, yeah, which one of the pre-show? I think we should probably start with the tag title match. What would you say?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Now, before we talk about any matches, I want to preface this entire thing because you guys, I have got myself convinced, and again, this is entirely due to me overthinking, but I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to say screw it. I think that WrestleMania 31 is Vince McMahon's final FU to Triple H and NXT.
Wow.
I think that by next year, Triple H might not necessarily be running things, but things are going to be being done on TV a lot more in his image and what he sees rather than Vince McMahon.
Very interesting.
And I think that WrestleMania 31 is going to be an entire show of Vince just throwing that Steve Austin double bird to Triple H.
Oh, that may not bode well for this card if you're right. Very interesting implications if that is the case. I guess getting right into the tag title match, we have got the Usos.
This match in and of itself is a middle finger to NXT because guess who's not in it?
Yes, the Ascension. That's right.
Exactly. And I think that the only NXT representatives that we might potentially get in this match are Xavier Woods and Big E. And there's no frickin' way they're winning.
No. Absolutely not. Just to set the stage for everybody, it's the Usos versus Los Matadores versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro versus The New Day. Presumably Big E and Kofi Kingston because they've been competing together as of late. Maybe Xavier Woods will swap out.
So even though there are a potential 2 NXT candidates that could be in this match, we're only getting 1.
Exactly. More than likely.
And you know what? Just because he's in it, I'm going to go ahead and predict that Big E is going to eat the pin.
You know what? If that happens, I'm going to start, feeling my skin crawl when we're doing live reactions together tomorrow night because I'm going to be thinking, oh, my God, was Ashton onto something? But here's my thing. This matchup is so disheartening because for the second straight year, we've gotten a tag team title match, pretty much the exact same tag title match, except I think this one is first fall to the finish and not elimination style that we did last year.
Which, if anything, that kind of makes it lamer.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Because, I feel like because I know that Los Matadores and the Usos were in it, and Cesaro was even in it, but he was in it with Jack Swagger rather than Tyson Kidd. So who's New Day replacing in this match?
Yeah, who are they replacing? I can't remember, dude, for the
All
life.
right, well, probably primetime players.
Probably. Because, yeah, they didn't make the cut here, and that's another thing that shocked me. I mean, they get back together, they make this big stink of, oh, we can finally do it, we can finally win the tag titles, and yet they were the first ones to hand the Ascension a loss, and yet everything they did wasn't enough, because they really weren't on TV after that.
It was Ryback.
Yeah.
It was Ryback.
It was Ryback. Okay.
That's right.
After that, they were just relegated to superstars in main event.
Yep.
And I just feel like...
Just like the Ascension.
Just like the Ascension, and that's part of the reason why I don't care about this match. I mean, Los Matadores gets built up out of nowhere.
I mean, the reason I don't care about this match is because the winner is painfully obvious to me.
Which I'm going to assume now that you're going with the Usos to regain the tag team titles here?
No, absolutely not. Jey Uso is injured. They can't be defending the titles. I think it's extremely obvious in this situation that Cesaro and Kidd are going to retain.
Ah, very interesting. You know what?
I don't know why that's even interesting, though, because they're not going to put the titles on the Matadors. They're not going to put the titles on the New Day. They're freaking cold as ice. Jey Uso is injured, so really the only team left that could walk out of this match with the titles are the current champions, and they've only had the titles for, like a month or two, so it makes all the sense in the world that they would retain.
Hey, I mean, I agree with you. I would hope for Cesaro and Kidd to retain even if the Usos were 100% healthy. But yeah. I think them coming in with that deficiency, I think really does change the game and does give merit to your point.
Right.
So I think I will sign on to that and say that Kidd and Cesaro will retain. If the Usos had come into this thing healthy, I'd be Usos all day in terms of predictions.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I would have been scared, but I still think I probably would have picked Cesaro and Kidd based exclusively on longevity because they've only had the titles. Did they win them at Fastlane, I think?
Yeah, they won them at Fastlane.
Yeah, so they've only had the titles for 6 weeks, and they're really, I mean, the WWE, say what you will, but recently they've been really good about having longer title reigns for the most part.
Right. And you know what a great team to have a longer reign with the tag team titles. I love Cesaro and Kidd together. I think they have an amazing upside. They even have great, comical moments together. That personality that Vince apparently thinks, Cesaro lacks, and I'm sure Tyson Kidd's had the same accusations. So, it's a great team, and I'd love to see them walk out of WrestleMania still with those championships. So, you know what? Out of confidence and fandom, I will sign on to your prediction. Cesaro and Kidd, Team Uppercats, to reign supreme.
Absolutely. All right. Well, one match out of the way. It's strange because this is only, I believe it's a 9-match card, 2 of which are on the pre-show. So we're going to have 9 matches spread out over the course of 6 hours.
That's crazy.
Like, we're going to get 2 matches in the pre-show, and then we're going to have 7 matches over the course of a 4-hour WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's insanity. So, I guess the next match to discuss would be the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
The old armbar, yeah, absolutely. And this is the first of many matches that I've overthought. And to me, there are 4 potential winners here.
See, and I've been telling you for a while that so far I've only counted 3 for me, so I'm curious.
Well, yeah, you're probably not even considering Sheamus, though.
Yeah, I'm not, for reasons that we'll get to later.
Because, I mean, everyone knows, or not knows, everyone thinks they know that Sheamus is going to be in the ladder match, but the WWE might actually know that everybody thinks they know that, and they might change it up just to say screw you to the fans.
Maybe.
And maybe he wins the armbar, and then the next night on Raw, he wins the IC title.
Wow, Sheamus OP upon return. But
well, yeah, I mean, if they're trying to push him as a heel, that'd be a great thing to do to get him over as a heel.
Absolutely, especially because you have to figure the winner of the IC title will have to be presumably really banged up because it was a ladder match, so it's easy.
Well, and on top of that, it'll probably be a really hot babyface like Bryan, Ziggler, or Ambrose if it's not Sheamus.
Exactly.
But, yeah, and the armbar, there are, again, I say 4 because they've been really pushing Ryback, and I don't want to discount him, but I think out of the 4, if Sheamus is in this match, I think that Ryback becomes the least likely of the 4 to win. Overall, I would say Sheamus is the least likely to win just because he's the least likely to even be in it. But really, the top 2 are The Miz and Damien Mizdow. And the reason I count The Miz is because the WWE could just kind of say screw you to the fans for 1 or 2 more months and just keep dragging this along and let Mizdow's anger build up a little bit longer and have the Miz just be the ultimate douche in the meantime. So when it finally does blow off, it means more.
That is very true. I mean, I think everybody has kind of looked at the armbar as Mizdow's platform to become his own quote-unquote superstar, to play along the Hollywood storyline,
Right.
only, for Miz to snuff him out. I think that would be great because then he would boast and say, see, Mizdow, see, you had a chance to step into the limelight and you failed because I'm the only real star in this relationship, and, things like that. And I think it would make for very interesting television. You know that my three favorites going into this thing, though you make a compelling argument for the Miz, are Ryback, Mizdow, and I'm sorry, I'm sticking with it even here, Curtis Axel. I have to
you
give
know
him
what? It's
consideration.
funny because as I'm looking over the list, because last year Cesaro won it and nobody freaking called that. Everyone thought that it was going to be either Sheamus or the Big Show. Like, no one thought that Cesaro was going to win it last year. And then he did. So you have to wonder how unpredictable are they going to keep this match? Because the predictable choice would be Mizdow or Miz, right?
Right.
Well, Curtis Axel's been getting built up pretty well. Ryback's been getting built up pretty well. Sheamus might be kind of a WTF. Where did he even come from? Another name that keeps standing out to me, based exclusively on the fact that the WWE might decide, oh, hey, it would be cool to push him for a month or two and then completely relegate him into obscurity. Fandango.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has been on a little winning streak as of late.
On SmackDown, yeah.
Yeah, so there's certainly possibility here. And then that conversation is always going to come up, oh, does, winning this thing even really matter? Well, it depends. Because I feel like if you have Miz or Mizdow win, it does matter because, to your point, Ashton, and I'm going to kind of expound upon it here, I think it makes for a great storytelling device.
Right.
Kind of like when Edge won the King of the Ring trophy in 2001, that was a great storytelling device for his inevitable split with Christian. So when you use things like that, I think it creates a lot of intrigue. If it's a Ryback or a Curtis Axel, the waters become muddied a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, you don't necessarily know if it's going to pan out to their benefit. Now, I like Ryback because I told you about that promo that I watched of him working out in the gym and talking about what the armbar means to him and the implications that it could hold for him. And that got me really jazzed up, like, oh my God, Ryback could just run roughshod and, win that trophy, and it would be great. But it would only
Big Show's going to knock him out, and then he and Kane are just going to dump him over the top rope like at the Rumble.
Yeah, I was just going to say, well, pretty much like the Rumble, right? But you know what? All of that, I've had this nagging feeling ever since he announced that he was going to be in the armbar that it was going to be Curtis Axel. I just don't feel like we can look past him. And you know what? This is probably only going to be my craziest prediction of the night. I hope, anyway.
See, but John, you've got to remember, Curtis Axel is a comedy heel. He's not a legitimate heel. He's a comedic heel.
And you know what? That may be true, Ashton, but I feel like it's funny that they've kind of done this whole thing mainly because of the Rumble, because he's like, oh, I've never been eliminated, and he has the clock and everything else, of everybody just throwing him over the top rope.
See, and to me, all that means is that they've got to work a way so that he never gets into this match.
And see, I'm thinking the opposite. I feel like it's, oh, look at him getting eliminated so early, so foolishly, and then when it comes time to actually perform, when it matters in the armbar, he's going to show up, pump up Axelmania, and he's going to do what they would conceive is the impossible, and that's winning this thing, especially if he would eliminate last somebody like a Mark Henry or a Big Show, which I'm
sure he would try, but...
but you know what? I'm going with it, man. I'm saying Curtis Axel's going to win this thing.
However, before you lock that in, we haven't talked about something yet.
Okay.
Hideo Itami.
Oh, man. Yep, folks, he won the NXT tournament to get into this match. He last beat, Finn Balor to earn this opportunity.
And then at San Jose NXT last night, he used a freaking GTS to beat Tyler Breeze, who might not be quite as gorgeous anymore.
I know, right? He's got to be devastated after his face ate so much knee. But, it's very interesting that Itami got this opportunity over a Balor or a Neville, because those were the two people, Ashton, that people were thinking was going to have the NXT representation in this Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be Balor. Oh, it's going to be Neville. And I was the same way, and I would like to think, maybe you were the same way too. I personally didn't give Itami much of a shot, but I
thought that if anyone, he was the least likely to win, because I could see any of the other three guys getting called up today because I feel like they're all TV ready. Whereas with him, he's still got so much work to do as far as his English goes. And the only way that I could see him working on the main roster is if he had a manager or a mic piece, a mouthpiece to do mic work for him.
Right, absolutely. And see, those reasons right there are exactly why I think he'll have an amazing showing. I would love to even see him make it to like the final four of this battle royal. But I mean, obviously, like he won't win because then he'd have to be called up. He'd have to, have an aftermath, and I just don't think he's ready for that. But I just want to see him have a really good performance, and I'm jazzed that he got this opportunity. I think this is a great way to showcase NXT. But hell, dude, I mean, let's be honest here. Given your opening sentiments about McMahon and the middle finger, Itami may be one of the earliest ones eliminated.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no kidding. And Connor and Victor and, all these guys. And Adam Rose, absolutely. And Eric Rowan. And, yeah, all the NXT guys are getting dumped out within, like, 5 minutes of getting the match.
Exactly. So, I mean, I got to ask you, because you know my prediction. I'm sticking with it. Curtis Axel's going to pull off the upset and win the armbar. Who are you picking to win this thing?
I can't even believe you're locking that in as your official prediction. Are you going to use that as your official prediction on Pweetoff too?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Man, you know what? Just because I feel like if they would give this to Damian Mizdow, it would almost be too much too soon for him.
Right.
Like they're kind of making him go from this like pathetic underling for the Miz to winning the freaking Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this quickly when he hasn't even like won any matches or anything like that really relevant. So I'm going to say the Miz.
Okay, very interesting. I think, your prediction definitely has a lot of merit. I would not be surprised to see the Miz.
And even though he was in FCW and that kind of, and even debuted on the main roster long before he ever showed up on NXT, I think Vince probably still sees him as an NXT guy.
Right. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, that's the armbar. I am looking forward to that matchup. Hopefully the winner this year has a better future than the winner last year in Cesaro. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, now we have 7 main show matches to talk about, and 3 of them are for championships. But 2 of the 4 that aren't for championships are basically main events in themselves. So the 2 matches that we are going to talk about first, and I'll let you pick which of the 2 we talk about first. Okay. Divas tag team match or Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins?
Let's talk about the Divas tag match first. I think every match after that, I've got quite a bit to say. So,
all right. Yeah. Going by my screw NXT theory, I have to pick the Bella Twins to win.
And see, here's my thing. I'm picking AJ and Paige to win.
And dude, my logic, going by logic, everything says that AJ and Paige should win. If I was picking this based exclusively on who I think should win, who I think would make the most sense to win, all that, AJ and Paige all the way, because one of them then can pin Nikki and get a championship match at the next pay-per-view. It all makes sense, but I think that probably even Nikki herself is going to pick up some kind of a screwy, cheaty victory over one of the other 2.
And see, my thing is, and you want to talk about you overthinking things? Well, you're not alone because, I have a tendency to do the same when I really look into a matchup. I think Brie Bella is going to turn on Nikki here.
I like that too.
And because why I say that, and this is the only basis I have.
Well, the only reason that I don't think it'll happen is because they kind of act like Nikki and Brie never even hated each other in the first place.
And see, the only basis I have for making that argument, well, we'll make it 2, but they pretty much go together into one thing. One, when you have stories like this, I've seen in the past, normally the team that everybody expects to have the communicative breakdown always shines through, and the team that everybody thought, oh, look at them, they're the pillars of strength, they've got it so well put together, they break down. And my second reasoning behind that is the SmackDown that we watched, the go-home SmackDown, Brie even acknowledged, and I thought that was a little weird that she brings that up this close to Mania. Yes, Nikki has hurt me in the past, but she's my sister and I'll always forgive her. I just found that interesting that they bring up that history so close to this matchup when, like you said, Ashton, for the longest time, I think they've treated it like, they never hated each other. And I thought the reason Brie, quote-unquote, forgave Nikki was so stupid. But, I mean, how great would it be if she's eating all this stuff, doing all this stuff for her sister, only to really play that long con, and at WrestleMania she turns on her, and then we get our Fatal 4-Way that you've been kind of prophesizing, and Extreme Rules for that championship. So, yeah, I think AJ Lee and Paige are going to win this thing because Brie turns on Nikki. Nikki will find herself in the Scorpion crosslock, and she'll tap out. So.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you're going that far. Holy crap. I think they're actually doing a fairly good job of going out of their way to protect Nikki Bella, believe it or not.
Oh, they certainly are. I think that was made, very evident on Raw in her title defense against Paige, where she kicked out of the Rampage at one point.
Yeah. So, like, you saying that she's going to tap out to the Scorpion crosslock, that's like, wow.
And my thing is, in the title match before that between Nikki, and Paige, she got caught in that maneuver, and she was about to until Brie protected her. Once Brie walks out, Nikki's in no man's land. And
yeah, see, and that's my thing, is that you're kind of just going into this assuming that Brie's going to turn on her. I don't see that happening. I think that for once, possibly ever, you actually out-overthinked me, or out-overthought, I don't know how to put it, but because I think that you're giving them too much credit, dude, because I just don't see them dipping that far into it where they're kind of dropping these little hints. And it's almost like you've been spoiled by Lucha Underground's amazing ability to maintain continuity and subtlety and all that other awesome stuff that they do. WWE doesn't do that. WWE, I don't think that they have as much self-awareness as you're giving them credit for regarding the Brie Nikki thing. I think that Brie and Nikki are, and we can even use Total Divas for proof of this, they are as a unit, a brand, and I don't think the WWE wants to break them up again.
You know what? That very well could be true, but just, again, like the Curtis Axel prediction earlier, just a feeling in the back of my mind, and it is just as easily believable that the Bellas could win. I mean, they have been on kind of a tear lately. Nikki's been, coming in as this very protected,
yeah, because, like, I could buy either one of them pinning Nikki after, AJ Lee with, like, a Shining Wizard, or Paige with well, I guess the Rampage wouldn't count. Maybe Paige Turner, yeah, maybe even both of them, but I don't see Nikki tapping out, that's for sure. Although, you know what, it's funny because Paige and AJ both use submission finishers.
Yeah.
The Black Widow and the Black Widow and the Scorpion Crosslock. They've both got what's the word? Arthropods.
Yeah.
They've both got finishers based on arthropods. But anyway, yeah. My official prediction, I'm just going to say Nikki pins AJ.
And see, you got to imagine, even if it doesn't go as far as Brie turning on Nikki, we've got to lay some groundwork for this division, I think, for Extreme Rules to establish a new contender, and I think that does begin at Mania, so I'm still going to say...
Well, I mean, when Charlotte and or Sasha debuts on Monday, we're not going to have any questions.
Oh, please let it be Sasha Banks. But yeah, I say Paige makes Nikki Bella tap out. So
all right. Here we go. The least important non-title match, Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. How crazy is it that this is the least important non-title match? This match is huge. I personally think that this is going to be the second best match of the night behind the IC title ladder match.
Yeah.
And I think these guys are going to kill each other. Well, specifically Orton's going to kill Rollins. And yes, that is my official prediction. Randy Orton is going to defeat Seth Rollins. And honestly, that's not even me predicting that based on FU to NXT. That's me picking that based on what makes the most sense from a storyline perspective.
Right. It's funny because the build of this match has been, very interesting. Definitely, to me, makes Rollins look legit, because a curb stomp on the steel step that took Orton out for months.
Right. I love the reaction that Orton had that same night at the beginning of the night to Rollins' stomp, because he said he was about how you got a great finisher, kid. I'm still seeing stars, that kind of thing. Like, it's awesome how over they've gotten the curb stomp. And to me, the biggest question mark about this match is how much will the Authority play into the result? Because if the Authority is just constantly, and the crazy thing is, like, I could see if they really want to make Orton look strong, if they want him to be like number one contender, getting ready to go against Brock within the next 6 months. I could see them having him overcome all of the Authority's shenanigans. But if they want to maintain Orton looking strong while still having Seth win, I could see the Authority determining the winner of this match.
And see, here's my thing.
Or another option, because of the armbar having Kane and Big Show in it, the only Authority members that'll show up are J&J Security, and Orton will just neutralize them quickly.
Right. And you see, actually, for me, there's a conflict here, but I think I've resolved it. But, I mean, the conflict I had was, Orton's got all this momentum since coming back. Is he really going to be able to ride that wave so easily? Or is, Seth Rollins going to be able to avert, his big beatdown, in terms of a match, for one pay-per-view longer? But here's the thing that I think is the game changer here. If you really take it at face value and you don't overthink it, you realize, as you and I have talked about in the past, WrestleMania is predominantly the pay-per-view for baby faces. Right. When we say WrestleMania moments, you've even said that WrestleMania moments, it's a baby face thing. It's not really a heel thing. So I think, screw overthinking it and all these possibilities. Rollins with the briefcase, has already heard the rumors that, yes, he is in fact going to be cashing in during the summer, so not at Mania. So I'm probably not even really going to entertain that notion. I'm going to say that Orton gets the win here because it is WrestleMania and he is the babyface. But I do think it's going to be a barn burner. I think these guys are going to have a really good match. I hope it gets at least 15 minutes so they can really show everybody what they can do. And you know what? I could even see them having a rematch at Extreme Rules and some kind of, specialties, kind of stipulation kind of match.
See, no. The only way that I could see them having any kind of a rematch at Extreme Rules is if Rollins wins here.
Yeah, that's true, because then it would make the most sense, because then the babyface is still chasing the heel.
Yeah.
You don't want to have the heel start chasing the babyface.
Right.
But, I think I'm just going to go Rollins, losing to Orton here. Babyface getting their WrestleMania redemption, if you will.
Right.
And, we just go on from there.
I want to emphasize that I could see this match going either way, and Rollins winning would kind of debunk my whole Vince wants to screw NXT over hypothesis. But, my official prediction is Orton for the win. All right, let's move on to the actual championship. We'll do the 2 mid-card championship matches, and then the 2 super important non-title matches, and then the main event.
Right.
So let's start things off with... do you want to see... I kind of want to do IC first.
If you want to do IC first, let's do IC first, man.
All right. Ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Stardust, Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, a.k.a. Bad News Barrett, and reportedly, presumably, Sheamus. There are 2 guys in this match that I don't think are going to walk out with it.
Okay, let's get those 2 guys out of the way right now.
Harper and Stardust.
Okay, I would agree with that.
That's
Absolutely,
it.
I would agree
That's
with that, yeah.
it. I could see anyone else walking out with this freaking championship. I could see Sheamus showing up, running roughshod, and walking out with the title. I could see Bryan winning. I could see Ziggler winning. I could see R-Truth winning, because why would you put this much emphasis on somebody as random and as R-Truth if you weren't planning on giving them a legit push with a title? I could see Ambrose winning, and I could see, after all this crap happening, I could see Barrett being like, screw you, and retaining. I could see any of those results happening.
And see, again, I have to be honest. This is probably the first match, well, maybe the second match, depending on your view with Rollins-Orton, that I feel is affected by Lesnar re-signing, in my opinion.
Why?
Well, because now...
Because to me, the first match that was affected by Lesnar re-signing was Rollins-Orton, because...
Right.
There's a chance that they want to keep Orton super duper strong so he can be the next guy in line to face Lesnar.
And to me, why I say that I feel like this match is affected by Lesnar re-signing is pretty much what, a lot of other people I've seen, particularly on Twitch have been saying. Lesnar's not going to make every date, so why not get the IC and US title on people that are considered, in that main event sphere, considered very important to fill that void.
I mean, if you want to go with that sort of does... See, but you know what? I think the only person that would even sort of kind of cancel out would be R-Truth and Dolph Ziggler. And Ziggler is even a former world heavyweight champion, so I don't even know if you can say that cancels him out.
No, I don't think that cancels him out at all, because the thing is, I mean, if they would trust Dolph, to have those kinds of matches for the Intercontinental Championship, which
Right.
everybody's always said is kind of like the quote-unquote wrestler's title. I mean, everybody has always made the comparisons to Dolph since he first stepped in, like he's another Mr. Perfect, and yeah,
Yeah.
he could, bump all over the place and go to distance with that title. So I don't think that counts him out at all.
Yeah, and I think that if anything, that does sort of make Bryan and Sheamus more likely. But again, we haven't been confirmed that Sheamus is in this match, so I don't want to pick a ghost. I don't want to pick somebody that isn't a guarantee to be in this match.
That's frustrating, isn't it? Because you feel like if Sheamus is in this thing, I have to imagine they'd give it to him. I mean,
it would make sense because you get just that moment where Bryan is up at the top and he's finally about to win the Intercontinental Championship for the first time ever, and then here comes Sheamus out of the corner of your eye, knocking the entire ladder over, throwing Bryan up over the top rope, or maybe crotching him on the top rope, and then he climbs up and wins the title.
Exactly, and I mean all this talk of we're gonna push Sheamus as a top heel, which I can really get behind.
It would make even more sense if, and I want to say if because we haven't predicted this match yet, if Cena walks out of this show with the United States champion, because then you have a top babyface and a top heel set up as your mid-card champions, which would basically be main event championships whenever Brock's not around.
Exactly, and see, I just have to say as an aside, I love that for the first time in, I'm going to say it, and it may be hyperbolic, but years, that the mid-card championship matches, forget a WrestleMania, but on any pay-per-view in general, decades, yeah, have this much intrigue and this much possibility. That said, I am so torn between Bryan, Sheamus, and Ziggler, really, for me, because really Ziggler, because again, we talked about earlier with the Rollins-Orton matchup, the WrestleMania moment is for babyfaces, not to keep beating that dead horse, but Bryan's already tasted a WrestleMania moment.
Right.
I feel like for Ziggler, this would be a perfect match to win, to sit on top of that ladder with that Intercontinental Championship hoisted high above his head. But we also have to think, if Brock retains, which, oh God, dude, when we get into that matchup, I don't even know if I'm ready for this. Are they really going to look at Ziggler and say, yeah, this guy can be one of our headliners on pay-per-views where Brock is not around? Now, I personally have that confidence in Ziggler, and I would like to believe that WWE does too, given his performance at the Survivor Series, even though that resulted in pretty much
nothing.
Exactly. We have to be honest about it. At the same time, that I feel like they would trust Bryan in that spot, and certainly Sheamus is like the next project of let's get him over as his top heel. God, it's so hard, but I have to make a choice.
Let's do this, John. Let's add a contingency.
Okay.
If Sheamus is in this match, I am picking him 100%.
Completely agree with you. Completely agree.
Like, the end of story. If he is the 8th member, if there even is an 8th member and it happens to be him, he's winning the whole thing. Then there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Right.
On the other hand, if Sheamus is not in this match, who is your pick to win it?
Oh, God. You know what? Dolph Ziggler. I'm going to go for it, man. I think somehow he is going to pull this stuff off. He's beaten Bryan twice now in the lead up to this feud. If anything, that should probably give maybe Bryan more credibility. But I feel like they're giving Ziggler those wins to maybe carry it all the way. I think WWE is almost thinking within a lot of fans' minds that Bryan winning is a foregone conclusion. I think for that reason he's not walking out with it, whether it's a heel Sheamus or Dolph Ziggler really stamping his own mark on WrestleMania this way. So, yeah. I'm going to go with Dolph Ziggler winning this thing yet again.
What do you mean yet again?
Well, he's a multi-time Intercontinental Champion. I think
the championship. Okay.
Yeah. So, I
thought you meant the WrestleMania ladder match. I was so
No. Yeah, certainly not. But, yeah, dude. And hopefully this time around, it's actually, and it just might be, given, again, Lesnar re-signing, if you feel like he's going to retain, which we'll get to later. So, yeah. Dolph Ziggler. And now I pose the same question to you. We already know of the contingencies in place that we both agree Sheamus would win if he's in this thing.
Yeah.
Now, if he's not, who do you go with?
You know what? Based exclusively on the fact that I'm so confident that Sheamus will be in this match that I'm not even worried about this little fallback plan, I'm going to pick Bad News Barrett to retain.
Interesting. You know, it's a shame that Dean Ambrose really didn't get a lot of momentum, but it goes back to that rule of thumb: never bet Dean Ambrose to win a match. I
Oh,
guess.
dude, Dean Ambrose isn't even on my radar for picking this match.
Yeah, I know.
Like, could I see him winning? Yes. Would I ever put money on or my reputation on trying to say he's going to win? Absolutely not.
Yeah, note to gamblers, I think it's a pretty bad move to ever put your money on Dean Ambrose.
Which is so sad because I don't know if he's ever won a singles match since the Shield broke up on a pay-per-view. I don't think he has.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, there's just so much potential, but that's a whole nother discussion. So wow. And you know what? I like that you picked Bad News Barrett, though, because here's a guy that in, like, the last little bit of build-up to Mania
He's been dominant.
Yeah.
He's been throwing out freaking, what are they called? Bullhammers left and right and just knocking everybody out. He's been ridiculous.
What a statement it would be, too, if he did win this thing, because he even had that interaction with Kane where Kane pretty much threw the odds in his face.
Forget Brie mode. Bad News Barrett is going full BNB mode on everybody.
Oh, shit, son. Yeah, honestly, I would not be opposed to him winning. I want us to get BNB back on track because, once again...
Dude, I feel like they've got to be ecstatic that he has finally... After all these years of them wanting to put the freaking Money in the Bank briefcase on him at WrestleMania, he has finally made it to the WrestleMania ladder match healthy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, they've been trying to put Money in the Bank on him since it was actually at WrestleMania, since before it got its own freaking pay-per-view.
Right.
That's how long they've been trying to put Money in the Bank on Bad News Barrett, on Wade Barrett.
Well, let's see if they'll scratch that itch all the way and let him actually win this thing. And, you know, again, even though he's a heel, so it doesn't really make sense to call it a WrestleMania moment, but just get that nice rub of winning a ladder match like this. We'll see, man. You know what? I got to say,
again, though, the only reason I picked him was because I'm so confident that Sheamus is going to show up and we're going to fall into that contingency that I'm not even worried about being wrong about him winning because I don't think that that's going to even be an option.
Yeah, and I'm confident we'll fall into that contingency as well. I've loved the build to this thing. I've loved how they've kind of pulled former Intercontinental champions for their insights. Yep. This match does, and the video package you and I saw on SmackDown I thought was very well done. This match does have like a big fight feel to it. I'm very much looking forward to it. But yeah, I've got Ziggler winning if Sheamus is not in it. You've got BNB retaining if Sheamus is not in it, but he most likely is in it. So you and I actually agree. Sheamus will be the new, for the first time in his career, I believe, Intercontinental Champion.
Yep, he's been U.S. and World and WWE, so this would make him... Would this make him a Triple Crown or a Grand Slam?
I feel like this would make him a Triple Crown because I don't think he's ever won the tag titles yet.
Yeah, but don't they count the two separate World Championships? The World and the WWE Championships?
Right.
When the brands were split? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Either way, it'll be one hell of a feather in his cap, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Up next, it's America versus Russia. Rusev and John Cena, not in that order, going at it, representing their countries. Rusev defending the United States Championship against John Cena.
I saw what you did there, and it's so true. You know, it's funny, Ashton, because I feel like Cassius Ohno, when you and I were watching that one Aubrey Sturgeon Raw review, put it very well when he said that it was either Cassius Ohno or Adam Cole, now that I'm thinking about it, oh dear, said that, you know, this is kind of this generation's Hogan versus Sheik. You know, with Cena kind of being the guy, you know, standing up for America, this and that, and Rusev just being this powerhouse. So that generation of wrestling fans, I think it is pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure it was Adam Cole, because Chris Hero is actually going to be on Monday's Straight Shoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. It probably was Adam Cole, but I love the point that he makes. Adam Cole is perfect in every way. And, you know, I am happy for that generation that this is the story. You know how I feel about it. I find it amazing that xenophobia is still marketable in 2015. You know, and that makes it intriguing.
Dude, tell me you saw the John Cena clip on frickin' Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Oh, absolutely, my man. It was gold. John Cena demonstrated to Chris that I'm just dying to see him do more of in his programs. It was so entertaining. You know, how he talked about, doing all the things that Americana just absolutely loves, from drinking beer to eating barbecue and all that. It was fantastic. So, I think that was a nice little build on a platform like Jimmy Kimmel for this matchup. That's
Dude,
probably one
I
of the best.
love how he's talking about how he buys an unnecessary amount of Chinese fireworks and then sets them off at will while humming the national anthem.
Why can't he bring that kind of energy and just charisma into his It's always because you and I have said about John Cena for a while that it seems like in settings outside of the WWE, primarily Total Divas when he's on,
Yeah.
he demonstrates this personality that we just find so much more entertaining than the persona he dons every Monday night on Raw.
Yeah, Big Deke is way better than John Cena.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So, again, it goes with that age-old debate. My problem isn't even necessarily with John Cena. It's just the John Cena that shows up to work. Because, it just, there's a disconnect. And then when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, man, why can't we get stuff like that on Raw?
Yeah.
But, shifting the focus here, I have praised Rusev pretty much all of last year. I think I gave him my potential rookie of the year. I gave him a big award last year for our Puitov year-end awards. So you know how high I've been on Rusev from virtually, the beginning since he came to the main roster. And he just continues to get better and better. And that's a terrifying
And even
thing.
his promos are on point now.
I know, right? I'm really glad you brought that up, Ashton, because I was getting ready to say it's terrifying to me how I already thought this guy was good, a couple months ago, but then you see how his promos have improved and everything else, and you're like, oh my God, not only is there room for him to get better, but he's actually using it.
Yeah, that freaking line that he cut about how if you had a soul, God would look down on it and spit on it. It's like, wow, going right for the throat, baby.
But I love it though, because I feel like here are two things that I love about Rusev, because I said just a few seconds prior how not only is there room for him to improve, but he's actually using it. Because I feel like when you've put in as many years into watching wrestling as you and I have,
Yeah.
speaking for myself, you get a little jaded when you hear the whole speech about a guy. Oh, but there's so much unfulfilled potential. Well, potential is one thing, realization is another.
Yep.
And Rusev's the latter. And the second thing I love is that I feel like Rusev is absolutely demolishing that caricature of, oh, these big guys, these burly behemoths can't really be that eloquent or articulate, and they only speak in sound bites or this and that, and he comes up with lines like that really resonate, and it's like,
well, I mean,
damn.
when you say they can only speak in sound bites, that's what he's so good at.
That is true.
So he is only speaking in sound bites, but he's really good at it.
But that's just it. It's that point. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna rip you in half. And he does say that.
And he has said stuff like that too. Yeah. So.
But he does come out with poetic lines as well. Again, if you had a soul, God would look down on it and spit on it. And I love that because it shows that there is a creative mind there at work. Is what I think I'm trying to articulate. And I love it, man. I love how he's been built up. And, I know there's a deep divide about this match. Cena can't win, but it'll elevate the U.S. title, and Rusev's getting in the ring with Cena at a WrestleMania. That's a big deal. This is the second straight year we have seen Cena in more of an undercard scenario, because last year it was Bray Wyatt. I remember seeing one article asking, is this the new normal for John Cena? Is this the new normal we have to get used to, him being in these Mania matches? And believe me, it's not going to take much of an adjustment period for this guy.
Yeah.
I personally really love it.
Yeah.
The build to this matchup, it's been solid. I think especially the go home Raw where Rusev just really took the fight to Cena and laid him out was so well done.
Yep.
But ultimately, all this talk and stuff, really, you can't avoid the fact that I am picking John Cena to win the United States Championship. But I'm very curious to see if you have any contentious opinions or if you sign on right with me. So
I do think Cena's going to win. That is my official pick. And even if I didn't logically think that, my NXT theory would say that Rusev has to lose.
Right.
So I am picking Cena to win, but there's a seed of doubt in my mind.
Which is?
The Go Home Raw, the segment that Rusev and Cena had on the Go Home Raw, is really just sticking with me for some reason. The fact that Rusev was just able to impose his will on Cena and make him pass out on the announcer's desk on the last Raw before WrestleMania, that's the important thing to me, because like I feel like Cena has a tendency in recent history where whoever gets the upper hand on the go home Raw in the WrestleMania Cena feud, that's the guy that wins the match at WrestleMania, which horrifies me because, well, not really horrifies, but it as far as predictions go, it definitely throws a wrench in my plans because Rusev had the upper hand on the go home Raw, so kind of sticking by the consistency there, it would make sense for Rusev to win.
And see, I think it's so interesting because to me, you do deal, I think, with a conundrum after the fact as well if Rusev does win. I mean, for as much as people would love the idea, and hell, I'm one of them being a big Rusev fan, but we have to ask the question, if Rusev beats Cena, where does either guy go from here? Because to me, Rusev wouldn't have any more viable challengers after that, and what's Cena going to do? Go back to the world title picture? Well, no, it wouldn't make any sense after he failed to win the United States Championship.
Rusev faces Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Rusev faces Hulk Hogan, right? So to me, I also think that Cena's going to win, not just because of the whole prestige argument, which obviously I've signed on to, but I think also because this feud, isn't going to be over. I think this is going to be a 3 pay-per-view match thing. Their conclusion will be at Extreme Rules. So therefore, for that to happen, for that to be necessitated, Cena does have to take the title off of the heel. So, I mean, that's kind of my thought process. Isn't just, it's Cena and it's the US title and big plans and Brock Lesnar. It's just the idea of what would either guy do if Rusev did retain. Because I feel like you want to talk about Rusev hitting a ceiling after, he faces John Cena at Mania. I feel like with that outcome, both guys kind of hit a ceiling, and it just kind of makes it awkward after the fact. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, your official predictions also Cena?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Yeah, and mine is as well. So, all right, let's get to our 2 incredibly important non-title matches. Again, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Let you pick which one we talk about first. Sting, Triple H, Wyatt, Undertaker.
You know what? This may surprise you. I want to talk about Sting, Triple H first.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
I think this is the most obvious match on the card.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the only reason that I have any little inkling of doubt in my mind is because of how hard they've tried to paint this as WCW versus WWE, and Vince just being so stubborn that he'd be like, oh, I can't have my guys lose to the company that I put out of business, and having Triple H go over because of that.
That was a solid Vince impression. Dude, I have to say, I wanted to be more excited about the build for this match. I think the only thing sustaining my interest is the idea that it's freaking Sting.
Right.
And it's WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Because let's be honest here, and I don't want to be that overly visceral kind of wrestling fan. I don't mean to be. But the build-up for this matchup, to me, as far as, the narrative they're going with, not the interactions between the two guys, because that's actually been pretty passable to me, but the narrative has been utter crap.
Well, yeah, the fact that they're trying so hard, and I love that Sting came out on Monday night, and one of the first things he said was, it's not about WCW versus WWE. That would be ridiculous. But then Stephanie McMahon came out and completely ruined everything Sting said about it.
Yeah, I really can't blame Sting here. If anything, he's the only one getting praise throughout this whole thing because he tried to do damage control.
Exactly.
And, I thought he did it very well.
Yeah.
Only for Stephanie to come out and be like, oh, Sting, stick to the script.
Yeah, I know. And she's just like, I know what your real motives are. I know that you're trying to get revenge for WCW because that's what we're telling you you're doing.
Can you imagine the reaction of the production truck when Sting was cutting that promo? He's going off script. He's actually giving proper build to this feud. Oh, shit. Damn it. We got to stop it. Stephanie, get out there. And she does, and she does her whole thing. And, oh, God. Yeah, it's totally asinine to me.
Yeah.
That the whole thing is WWE versus WCW. Sting himself even said, that was 14 years ago. There's no point now. It's over. This is about him wanting to take Triple H down, which, hell, that's kind of the story you were telling ever since Survivor Series. because you saw the Authority running roughshod over, good people and putting their jobs at risk and just being absolutely tyrannical. And Sting has always been the picture of justice. Always. It's been the one consistency about his character, even during his time in TNA. He was always like that shining light, leading everybody to justice and prosperity and all that good stuff. So he's doing the same thing here. And you think, okay, well, the Authority's the threat. They're the cancer. I'm going to take the scalpel and cut it out. Pretty straightforward. Why they feel the need to add a dimension to this, which doesn't even really make any sense. It's totally nonsensical. I think really takes away from the matchup, which is really quite a shame, because I feel like when you keep it simple with guys like Triple H and freaking Sting, the magic takes care of itself, and I really feel like they muddied the waters here. I mean, again, I'm still into the match for the fact that it is Sting, and it should be like a really competent matchup, a solid matchup from these two guys. But man, this WCW crap was so unnecessary.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to me that takes away from this match, because everything else about it's been good. I mean, I like the idea that they're building up the idea of the sledgehammer versus the bat. You've got, I mean, Triple H is really he's kind of in that league with like the Undertaker and the Brock Lesnar's of the world, where he's kind of a stage above even the championships in the WWE.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, over the course of the last year or two, I think John Cena has kind of found himself in that realm too, but obviously not if he's going after the U.S. title now. But yeah, I think that. And then Sting, he was the frickin' man in WCW. Say what you will, but he was the only guy that was a WCW original, that WCW, I guess you could say, created, that kind of stuck with them all the way to the end. The only other guy that was really a top star in WCW that wasn't a WWE guy first was Goldberg, and he was only there for, 3-4 years at most.
Right.
Whereas Sting was there the entire, he was there before it was even WCW. He was there when it transitioned from, I think it was some kind of an NWA thing into WCW.
I mean, hell, I personally have a copy of Eric Bischoff's book, Controversy Creates Cash, and he spoke very highly of Sting in the same way. He said, Sting had stuck around with us from the very beginning all the way to the bitter end. I mean, and that's why, when they say that Sting is WCW, that's not exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. That's just straight up fact. But again, yeah, even though he has that as like a credential, it shouldn't be a storytelling device. And I feel like WWE really erred there. That said, I'm still looking forward to this matchup. Interesting thing is that, when Sting talks about it, he says that this really is like his last hurrah. I don't know if he's just trying to keep the energy afloat for, Sting Taker and that speculation running rampant. But, if it is, his last hurrah, obviously I think Sting's going to, go out on top. And like you said, this is the most obvious match to predict unless Vince's ego gets in the way. So, yeah, Sting to win this matchup.
It's so funny because Vince's ego getting in the way would literally just be... It's like there are two different sides clashing, because on one side, you can have WWE lose to WCW, which obviously ego-wise, that's not good. But on the other side, you could have Triple H win a match, which, again, sticking to my theory, he's trying to stick it to Triple H on this show, so that wouldn't make sense either.
Yeah.
So I mean, Triple H himself losing a match would be even more of an ego stroke for Vince, because he's kind of trying to assert his power and be like, screw you, Triple H, I still run this show, you're just running the developmental system.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is kind of my friend sort of thing.
And plus, at the end of the day, to me, it comes down to, this is Sting's first match. If he loses, you've killed him before he even gets rolling.
And that is so true, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very legitimate point. And really the thing here, it's so much easier to call Sting winning, because keep in mind, even though his plan is to take Triple H and the Authority down, this matchup has no extraneous implications. It's not.
Oh, yes, it does.
Well, I was going to say, it's not like if Sting wins, the Authority disbands. That's kind of what I meant by that, but I'm curious.
No, but it has implications for WrestleMania 32.
If you believe Sting Taker's going to happen, which I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I'm assuming.
Really? You don't necessarily think that's going to happen? I think that has to happen.
See, and I'm ultimately, I will say that I'm with you, because I just think Sting saying, "Oh, this is my last one. This is the only WrestleMania I'm going to do." I think that's
See,
just
but
him
that's the
kind of
crazy
feeding
thing here,
lines.
though, John. The crazy thing to me is I've actually heard rumors that Sting might work more than one more match after this. I've actually heard rumors that he might work 1 to 2 matches between WrestleMania 31 and 32.
Interesting.
I've heard that he might work another match with Triple H even.
So they might have a rematch.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, ultimately, I would side with you, because I feel like Sting saying stuff like that is just feeding lines so that you create that ambiguity. This way, when you do unleash something,
Right.
you can at least catch some people off guard. So I feel like it's a business maneuver more than anything. I don't
So
think
we're
it's a
both
personal
picking
statement.
Sting to win this, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That being said, let's move on to Bray versus Taker, because I feel like these matches tie into each other based on Sting Taker happening at WrestleMania 32.
Yeah. And you know what? Even knowing that, though.
No.
No.
See, you're waffling like crazy. I'm locking it in. The Undertaker's winning this match.
It's not that simple for me, man.
I know it's not that simple for you, but first of all, we agree that Sting winning is a very obvious choice, right?
Correct.
And second of all, we agree that Sting Taker is an incredibly obvious match to set up for WrestleMania 32, right?
Absolutely. It's a match that I think everybody's been wanting, with Sting in the WWE, so.
Okay, so how much of a dick would Sting look like if he started trying to get The Undertaker to have a match with him at WrestleMania after The Undertaker's gone 0-2 at the last 2 WrestleManias?
And see, very true. And that's the thing. If you really believe, as we've kind of established that we both do, I mean, you with more confidence than myself, admittedly, but we're both in the same camp, that Sting Taker is happening WrestleMania 32, I feel like you have to give the win to The Undertaker here.
I think they both have to win their respective matches.
They do, because otherwise, and I know we've said this about stuff before, but really, who's going to care? Because to me, you have to go in with some kind of momentum. And the thing is, I've heard so many people say, "Oh, Bray's got to win. He's got to win." Ashton, I think you would agree that I'm a pretty huge Bray Wyatt fan when you hear me talk about
I
him.
am so sorry. I hope you can maintain that thought process. I just want to say something.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Bray Wyatt beats The Undertaker, that puts him in the same conversation as Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I don't think the WWE is ready to put Bray in that conversation yet.
And I'm inclined to agree with you. And what I was getting ready to say is that, again, I think you could say that when you hear me talk about Bray, that it's safe to say I'm a pretty big fan of his.
Yeah.
But I have to say, these fans saying, "Oh, Bray has to win," that's being a bit hyperbolic to me.
Yeah.
I feel like WWE knows, because they've established precedent, that Bray Wyatt, better than anybody,
can recover from a loss. Yep.
And they're going to take advantage of that fact. And Bray's going to come close. I mean, Bray is going to give The Undertaker, I think, an ass whooping.
And dude, you and I were as against Bray losing to Cena last year as anyone, but what harm did that do to him? He's facing the freaking Undertaker at WrestleMania this year. My God, if he loses this match, I expect him to face freaking Hulk Hogan or The Rock next year.
Yeah, who would have thought that losing would have such a great payout? Because really, the only consequences that Bray suffered was when him and the entire family were kind of on a downturn, after that Cena feud. But Bray is a solo act. I mean, he had the feud with Ambrose, which he came out on the winning end of. And now he's facing The Undertaker. Now, the conversation I had with Abel, because we talked about this, because he really doesn't know what he's going to do. And I said, well, Abel, it really depends on what WWE considers to be the bigger goal. If Bray was to win this match, I personally told Abel that there is no other conceivable route for Bray to take, at my estimation, than the world title, whether it be Lesnar or Reigns.
Right.
He's the next contender to me. I don't care what anybody says.
Completely
that would be
agree.
the next path. But that's the thing. I don't think that's going to happen, and we're going to get to Reigns Lesnar, I think, after this matchup. So
yeah,
great.
correct.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh yeah, we're doing smooth transitions for everything.
But I just don't think that's it. But I think the bigger long-term game plan is exactly what you said, Ashton, from the jump. they want to do Sting Taker. It's in Texas. It's in, I believe, some kind of stadium that's really like huge. It's going to be a huge
100,000.
100,000. Presumably, Taker's last match being the ultimate dream match that people have wanted from The Undertaker.
Yep.
You can't write this stuff, except I think they're actually going to.
Yeah.
So, you have to go with The Undertaker here.
Yep.
So, yeah, Undertaker to beat Bray Wyatt. And, guys, here's the thing. Even when Taker does beat Bray, to me, he'll still get in the world title picture this year. I could even see him being in
I think he'll be in the world title picture next year. Next year's WrestleMania, I think that Bray Wyatt is going to be in the world championship match.
I just have to say as a concluding thing that I'm just so proud of Bray for carrying this thing and doing the mic work that he's done.
Yeah, I mean, they even said it on Reddit. He's basically spent the last 2 months cutting promos to a wall, to a ghost, to nothing.
Because you see, and again, I don't mean to be that prick towards other wrestling fans. I don't mean that when I say this, but I don't think a lot of people are looking at the bigger picture. Because to me, they're looking at purely the win or the loss. What I'm looking at is how Bray has performed throughout this entire story.
Yeah.
And his performance has been absolutely fantastic.
And we've even made comments on TwitWow about, let's get him a freaking back brace because he's been carrying this feud.
Exactly. So to me, Ash, and you and I have had conversations about the business, the meaning of wins and losses of championships and this and that in the past. And wins and losses really don't matter. Maybe they should matter a little more than they should in a kayfabe sense of who gets title shots and who doesn't. But the fact is, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean shit. Bray is going to get rewarded for his performance whether he wins or he loses.
Yeah, and you know what? Especially with Bray. Because, to me, wins and losses can matter depending on the context. There are some guys that need to be protected by winning matches. Bray is the exact opposite.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And you know what? To your point, I'm so glad you said that by next year you see Bray in that picture, because I think Bray's convinced me with this feud, you really can't stop Bray Wyatt. There may
his
be
upward momentum.
You can't.
It's crazy, dude, because you look at last year at WrestleMania, and I said that the Cena match was a lose-lose, because if he wins, there's nowhere to go. There's no upwards way to go because Cena is the top of the mountain. If he loses, what does he do then? He reached the top of the mountain and then lost, and now he's got to go back down. So I didn't even take into account that a year later he would have actually managed to get a friggin' jetpack and go up above the tip of the mountain to frickin' Undertaker.
Bray Wyatt, to me, I think one of the reasons why I love him so much is he's a testament to what happens when you're just so consistently good. Because you can even be in a lull with Bray. I know you kind of were a little bit disenchanted with his promos for a little bit before this program.
Well, I mean, for the Ambrose program, I just wasn't.
For the Ambrose program, and I know I kind of felt that way as we got deeper and deeper into it. So yes, when we say that he's so good, it's not to say he's never hit a lull or he never again will hit a lull. It's to say that even if he does, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because he's just gonna break through that shit and just ascend and ascend. And he's how old, Ashton?
27 or 28, somewhere around there.
27 or 28 years old, and he's this. I'm telling you, it's not even fair. So to me, yeah, Undertaker's gonna win. But do you think Bray Wyatt gives a damn? Because he was one of the people. Because you have to imagine Taker doesn't have many matches left, and to say that Bray Wyatt was in the same class as a Lesnar, as a Shawn Michaels, as a Triple H, that's its own reward. And I think for this matchup, the biggest disservice wrestling fans are doing themselves is not looking at the bigger picture. Yeah. We are, and the bigger picture says that while Taker wins now, Bray Wyatt's still going to win the war without lifting a finger. So Undertaker to win.
Bray Wyatt is 27 years old.
Insanity.
And I think the even bigger picture, rather than just looking at Bray Wyatt, because I think he's proven that he can handle a loss, it's Sting Taker. This is the freaking dream match, and you don't want two guys or one of two guys or any of the one of two guys to go into that match having come off a loss. That would be stupid.
Yeah, I have to agree. Because I don't even know what kind of story you tell when Sting wins his matchup, because I'm not even going to give any credence to the idea of Triple H winning, so it would have to be Taker taking another loss if people are thinking that way. I mean, what kind of story do you do with a man that won his WrestleMania debut and a guy that's 0-2 at the past two Manias? I don't know, unless, it's now I'm going to put the final nail in the coffin, so Sting turns heel. Yeah, I just don't know how you pull that off. It just makes more sense, and it's a lot cleaner if you give both guys their respective wins.
Yep.
So.
It's so funny. I was listening to Podswoggle the other day. Mega shout out. Those guys are amazing. Check out Podswoggle. But they said something about how this match should go to a draw so that Bray Wyatt can be the other one in 21, 1-1.
That's amazing. Oh man, but now, dude, there's no escaping it any longer. This matchup. Brock Lesnar versus Roman freaking Reigns, dude.
Yeah, and I you know what? Before we even talk about the match, I'm going to get my prediction out of the way. Sticking to the FUNXT theme, Brock Lesnar retains.
You and I are unified on that, and it isn't even because of the the NXT thing, but I will say, yeah, Brock Lesnar retains. I feel like this re-signing for 3 years, we've got him now up to
$3 million a year.
$3 million a year. It changes everything. I even talked about like how it influences like a lot of matches.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, because of the fact that they have him for so long, he's going to hold the title for 430 plus days and wipe CM Punk's name out of the record books.
And you know what, dude? It's so funny that you just said that to me, because I told you earlier how me and Abel have been kind of having talks about WrestleMania. Well, we talked about Brock Lesnar, and I think he even said, dude, he should hold that for the entire time of his contract and just drop the title at WrestleMania 34.
Oh my God!
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. For the record, I just want to say I didn't say
he's got to get a face run out of the way eventually.
And see, we're going to get to that in a second. I don't say what Abel said to give credence to it. I say it just because I think people just believe that's how much of a beast he is, and right. I love it. I love that people even entertain that possibility because Lesnar's been so good. Now,
and really because the structure of this card, it seems like the WWE is setting up the infrastructure so that they can survive without Lesnar being on every show or even every pay-per-view because of Cena and potentially Bryan or Sheamus walking out with the Intercontinental and U.S. Championships. Again, not in that order.
Exactly. I just feel like all the pieces are in place to have Lesnar retain, and no matter how long he holds on to that championship, whoever takes it off of him, instantly made. And if they're already somebody that doesn't really even need to be made, it's just an excellent rub. And to me, I was going to say there's so many things that I wanted to ask you personally, Ashton, so we'll start with the first question because you brought it up, so I feel like it's a great place to start.
Well, hang on a second, because I want to actually dispute something you said.
Okay.
Instantly made? I
think so.
Can we acknowledge that Brock Lesnar is arguably the top babyface in the WWE right now?
By crowd reaction, absolutely.
Who's going to get instantly made by taking the title off of the top babyface?
And see, but here's the thing. By WWE's perception, he's a heel. So I don't know what you do.
That's what I'm saying, though. If they have a heel take the title off of Brock, or if they have a babyface take the title off of Brock, that's going to do anything but make him.
And I think you have a point there, because I could just see the crowd kind of turning on whoever beats Lesnar, in that kind of context. But still, I want to keep the focus to what I want.
Maybe instantly legitimized.
That's a better word. To me, I always conflated them as one and the same. But you know what? Yeah, we'll go legitimized.
Because when you say made, I think made man. I think like instantly over with the crowd everywhere.
No, I mean in terms of like credibility. Like you do that and you do something insane.
Yeah.
Just like I feel like Brock Lesnar, his beast status, it's kind of like you said, and that was only when he like did a demonstration of strength by F5ing Mark Henry on the floor. And this is one of my favorite sound bites from you. You said, and that right there is exactly why I don't care how many matches Brock Lesnar wins or loses, because he'll always be legit with stuff like that. Well, after he beat the streak, who gives a shit like when he wins or now? Of course, there are going to be certain contexts, I'm sure, when it matters. But he's still going to be this freaking mercenary that I would never want to cross. I don't care if the guy's 0-500 when I step up to him. I'm still going to shit my pants.
Yeah.
Okay? That's just the power of Brock Lesnar. No, whoever manages to beat him, I don't mean over with the crowd, because the crowd loves Brock. They understand, I think, the value of Brock when he comes out because they know something is going down.
Yep.
I mean that they have a feather in their cap, bragging rights for the rest of their career. Yeah. Now that we've kind of cleared that up, I have to ask you, and let's have this conversation now. when and what circumstances do you feel like Brock is going to turn face? Because I agree with you. A face turn is inevitable.
After he drops the title.
Do you okay? And you don't think it's going to be at Mania? So can you kind of maybe give more? Do you think Rollins is going to successfully cash in?
Yes.
Okay, so now
actually, I was actually talking with my mom the other day about this. I think, and now people are going to say stuff about how I'm crazy. How huge would it be, as if he needs it, to put Brock over even more as a killer, as somebody you don't want to mess with, if Seth Rollins becomes the first person to ever let the contract expire?
Yeah. It would be insanity, right? Because Rollins has even said in interviews it's frustrating when you kind of have a champion on the schedule that Brock Lesnar is at, because you're losing opportunities to cash in. But here's the thing. Anytime Rollins has had a chance to cash in, Lesnar has always stood not only triumphant, but really dominant.
Dominant, yeah.
And that's the thing. You don't want to mess with somebody that's dominant. And here's the crazy thing, Ashton. Even though, again, we've said Brock Lesnar's going to retain, and we've already kind of dispelled the rumors potentially of Rollins cashing in at Mania. The crazy thing is, if Rollins would have the balls to cash in at Mania when Lesnar's kind of recovering after like a vicious title match, I could see him beating Rollins too. You're talking about a guy that kicked out of like 3, or really instantly got up of 3.
Yeah, he didn't even have to kick out. He didn't even lay down for them. He just took the bump and then stood up like a freaking shoulder block.
I have never, and I have been watching wrestling for over 10, I'd say it's like close to 11, 12 years now, never seen anybody as dominant, and you just kind of question what the hell is going to put him away like Brock Lesnar. You know, it's funny, I've been watching
Enter Randy Orton punt.
It's funny because I've been watching a lot of DBZ content lately, mainly like from the Cell Saga, and you imagine like, you know, the villains that can regenerate and all that stuff, and you think, what is it that's going to finally put him away? Brock Lesnar's on par with a freaking DBZ villain, because it's like, what the hell is it going to take?
And nobody has a spirit bomb in their arsenal.
Well, I was going to say, you know, even the spirit bomb, if we really look at the history, that's only ever killed one villain. But this isn't a DBZ discussion, because I was getting ready to say, Roman Reigns' spear, maybe in people's eyes, that spear bomb ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter. Lesnar's going to kick out, and he is going to dominate. I'm telling you, this...
Dude, I want him so badly to eat a Superman punch and then smile.
Yeah, and dude, don't put it past Brock Lesnar to do that, because this guy's a freak. You're talking when John Cena hit an AA and Lesnar, I think, kicked out at SummerSlam.
Oh my God, I just got an image in my mind. Reigns goes for a Superman punch and friggin' Lesnar grabs his fist and then flips him up into an F5.
Oh my! And see, he is just a freakish performer.
Dude, I'm not even joking. Taking everything into account, with Reigns being as insanely cooled off as he has been, and the fact that Lesnar is back now, and the fact that everyone has been like, even commentary, even Paul Heyman, everyone has been questioning if Reigns can do it. I know I'm not going to get it because they still want Reigns to look strong, but I want a repeat of SummerSlam. I want Lesnar to squash Roman Reigns here in 10 to 15 minutes.
That would be really a sight to behold. And, you know, we talk about this.
I just keep on imagining in my head John Cena hitting the F5 on Lesnar and going for the pin, and Lesnar kicks out at 1, and Cena backs into the corner, and then Lesnar does the Undertaker-style sit-up, and then just smiles and laughs.
And that's what makes him such a great performer. It's just I mean, John Cena, when he failed to regain the championship at the Royal Rumble in that triple threat, he even said he was resigned, and he said, I don't know who can stop Brock Lesnar. That's John Cena, the guy that tells you on a weekly basis, every year, never give up.
He gave up.
Keep trying.
He's been doing a lot of giving up lately, between giving up on trying to win the WWE title and then his body giving up at Fastlane. Yeah, his body gave up again on the Go Home show to SmackDown, the Go Home Raw, or to WrestleMania, the Go Home Raw. And like give up has become a frequently used word in his dictionary.
John Cena was on that, trajectory to being in the pantheon of championship reigns alongside Ric Flair, and then he hit the brick wall known as Brock Lesnar. And
Yep.
he's like, I'm done. 15 wasn't bad. I'm just going to put my initials in the number 2 I score slot above Brock here.
Yeah, guess I have to go after the mid-card titles now. Where's Rusev?
Where's Rusev? But, I mean, and here's the thing, dude. What's so great about this matchup, from the wild, almost conspiracy-esque theories to the more plausible, there are so many possibilities that people are producing for this match. I've even heard people say Paul Heyman is going to turn on Lesnar and align with Reigns.
That is the dumbest theory that I've heard so far. And it's so funny because it actually got brought up to me. Someone posted an article on Bleacher Report suggesting that should happen. And it's just like, get your head out of your ass. And to me, if anybody is turning on anybody, the authority is turning on Seth Rollins because of Orton just owning freaking space on Seth Rollins' property.
Yeah, right. Curb stomping all over Boardwalk. But yeah, I mean, to me, I don't see that. I think that is way on the margins of just conspiracy theory. And here's the thing, too, and I might get a little bit of flack for saying this, and I'm fully prepared for it. I'm sorry. I don't see Lesnar turning on, or I don't see Heyman turning on Lesnar. I don't.
I mean, maybe down the line, and that would be what they use to turn Lesnar face, but not now, not anytime soon even.
I don't want to be too contentious with you over that because I can see what you're saying. The only way I see Heyman turning on Lesnar is if Rollins would successfully cash in. And I'm sorry being honest about that too. Right now, I don't see it. Right. Lesnar is in a stratosphere of dominance.
Yeah.
Everybody else looks like a freaking mortal compared to Brock Lesnar. That's terrifying. That Royal Rumble performance convinced me you could bring in 5 nukes and a battalion with AR-15s and you'd only get a 2 count. It's absolute utter insanity. And to me, Heyman, they already did the angle of him turning on Lesnar back in 2002 with the Big Show. That didn't end well for Heyman. Brock Lesnar ended up getting his hands on him in a steel cage. This Paul Heyman and this Brock Lesnar, I think, are so in sync. And Heyman realizes, you know what? This is the best meal ticket I'm ever going to come across in my life. Because even if he loses the championship, and see, that's the thing too, even if he loses the championship, I don't think Heyman would be that dismayed because it's Brock freaking Lesnar. Is it really beyond the realm of possibility that he'd get it back? I don't think so.
Yep.
So, to me, Heyman's sticking with Lesnar for the long haul, and that's really the controversial statement. Isn't that he's not going to turn face, because I do believe he's going to turn face, but I just believe Heyman's going to go along for the ride, because Heyman doesn't care what the hell Brock Lesnar is as long as he's making money. Yeah. That's it. So, Heyman's not...
I mean, it's so weird because, like, you say turn face, and even I said something about that, but he already is.
Yeah, he already is by all counts.
Not only a face, but the top face in the company right now.
I mean, he even has his own fan, Brock Lesnar fan guy who does kind of like the motions of his entrance. That's how old this guy is.
It's so weird to think about because, like, if you would have told me last year after WrestleMania that by next year's WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar would have more fanfare than Daniel Bryan, I might have just slapped you on the spot.
And you know what? I probably would have joined you. It's crazy how Lesnar has blown up. And I'm sorry, I have to agree with the commentators of, like, the Paul Heymans, the Jim Rosses, that I'm loving how Lesnar's title reign has shaped out. See, because here's the biggest difference. Because I know I hear people say, well, how is this any different from The Rock? The Rock has never been this compelling. Ever. Because
to me, The Rock, I guess that back in the late 90s, early 2000s, The Rock was believable because of how ridiculously athletic he is. But if you look at him now, sure, he's still athletic, but he's an actor. There's a level of credibility that gets taken away when you go to Hollywood.
And I agree with that. And I think it's not just that, but I mean, and I hate to be that guy, but it has to be said, look at Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Look at him.
Yeah.
I look at The Rock, and I wouldn't have believed that, if he pulled out the kind of performance that Brock did at the Rumble, I wouldn't have believed it, because Rock just doesn't look like that kind of guy.
He's not that type of guy, though.
Yeah, he's not that type, but see, that's
it's like Brock Lesnar is a fighter, The Rock is a performer.
And see, Ashton, That's the difference, and that's why this works.
Yeah.
Because the idea that Brock's a fighter and he comes out with that championship, it gives it a different feel. To me, when everybody's like, "Oh, he should work more dates," I even had a friend of mine, and I just kind of shook my head. They're like, "Oh, Lesnar's a joke. Now we get to have a champion that'll appear so and so." Do you guys not? And see, again, I'm going to sound so preachy here, but do you guys not get it? Like, to me, I'd rather have a champion that goes in and kicks ass and has performances like he did at Rumble and like I'm presuming he'll have at Mania, and make the next guy to step up and be a regular with that championship actually look like something. Because I love how wrestling fans for so many years are like, oh, the belts are meaningless and we need to build up prestige. And here's a guy that comes in, this ass kicker, does exactly what you asked for. Exactly.
And it's still not enough because he's not doing it every week.
Still not enough because he's not doing it enough for you. Well,
right.
He's doing it enough for me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he is going to retain over Roman Reigns, and he has a chokehold on that championship. And even though, again, I do feel, even though I love him to death, I do feel like Abel may be a bit hyperbolic, thinking, drop it at WrestleMania 34. Even though, to be fair, I think he just said, how cool would it be if that happened?
Right.
And I agree, because you know what? With how many dates he appears, maybe they could pull it off. He's going to drop it before then. But I'll tell you something. Brock Lesnar lets that championship go when, as Heyman said, he wants to, and it ain't going to be Mania. He retains over Roman Reigns. The Beast is going to triumph over nepotism every day of the week.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, too, is I don't know how much attention people have paid to this element, but they've actually gone really far out of their way to prevent Roman Reigns from having any kind of spotlight whatsoever.
Oh, dude. So agree with you on this, and I
mean,
don't.
You look at the last month building up to WrestleMania, and save for the go home show, which I mean we already agree was insanely cringeworthy because of the freaking tug of war. But save for that show, every episode was main evented not by Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar, but by Rollins and Orton.
Yeah. And it's not even.
I mean, you even look at the tag match where Orton turned on Rollins.
Right.
Who was on the other side?
Roman Reigns.
Does anyone remember that, though?
No, they don't, because, look, all he did was get the spear, get the pin, and then he immediately left.
Yeah.
Immediately, and then that was it. Dude, I feel like you're so on point here, because I don't think it just goes, even though it does, and it's a huge part of it, with the booking and the placement on the TV show cards. I don't even really like the narrative of just, oh, my family this, my family that. I feel like it's an intriguing element, and I'm glad Heyman brought it up, but I didn't want it to be the epicenter of it all. I wanted it to be, and you remember I told you this, I think, on the Go Home Raw Twit Wow. It should have just been about two guys that are ass kickers in their own right, because Reigns is legit. Well, I mean, you think about, him breaking Kane's record.
Dude, but that's the thing. You say legit, but can you really use the word legit when we're talking about a conversation that also involves Brock freaking Lesnar?
And see, not when you go into this match having lost to Seth Rollins at one point
and the Big Show
at one point.
Yeah.
And see, that's the problem. I feel like they mishandled Reigns from the jump. And yeah, it's not even his fault, because I think a lot of people are conflating a mishandling of Reigns with Roman Reigns just being bad. Yeah. And I think that's a mistake, because to me, I do feel like Roman Reigns is a big upside. Hell, if you guys want to know how much I believe in Roman Reigns, take a look at the Royal Rumble, what would it be? Yeah, 2014 live reactions, and then the Survivor Series before that when he was the sole survivor. When he has moments like that, I feel like he has so much appeal, and crowds can really get behind him. But when you talk about his placement on the card, losing to Rollins and Big Show, and then making it about, oh, well, I've got to represent my family. No! Represent you! This is about you and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I get that you come from a lineage, and again, that should be touched upon, I think. But keyword, touched upon. You shouldn't make an entire portrait out of that element alone. This is about you stepping out into the spotlight, and I wish they would have focused more on that. Because to me, if Roman Reigns wins, I'm not going to be pissed and toss my computer and say, oh my God, worst WrestleMania ever, where's the Squared Circle subreddit? I need to rant. It's not going to be that bad.
Dude, if he wins, there are going to be so many people that do the exact same thing that you just said you wouldn't do.
And see, like, I'm not going to be that guy, and I know you aren't either, but I can't lie at the same time. I don't feel like there exists nearly as much possibility as Lesnar retaining here. I feel like Lesnar retaining is the far more intriguing option, and I feel like Roman Reigns. It's not that he isn't ready, because I know people have been saying, "Oh, he's not ready," this and that. It's that
Nobody is
creatively,
ever ready to win their first world championship.
exactly.
Especially not from Brock freaking Lesnar.
Exactly. I feel like it's not the fact that Reigns isn't ready, even though, again, to your point, nobody's really ready. So that's kind of what that boils down to. It's the idea that the creative for this was just horrendous to Reigns, and they need to, go back to the drawing board if they're serious about it and map out a game plan that makes people say, you know what? Reigns is on a tear. He is going to be the world champion, and WrestleMania just isn't that night.
No.
I think Brock Lesnar's going to stand tall, continue his dominance, and God help us all for the next 3 years, because whoever takes that belt off of him may just pay a price for it, like eating liquid food for the rest of their lives. So, Brock Lesnar to retain.
Yeah, absolutely. Brock Lesnar retains. I will say, if Reigns does retain, I foresee a heel turn within the next, I would say month, but I don't even think it's going to be that long.
Yeah, it's so funny, Ashton, because I'm sure you've seen, as everybody has, like the interviews that Roman Reigns gives. Oh, I'm just getting rich. Oh, when I'm cutting a promo, shut the hell up and let me talk. In reference to the Yes chants and the Daniel Bryan chants that break out during his segments, and you almost have to wonder, like, he makes comments like that. And if he means them in real life, I even said I find his honesty to be incredibly refreshing. Whether you want to say he's a douchebag or not, I like how straightforward he is. Like, yeah, you guys could clock away on your keyboards. I'm just getting rich. Like, that's the best defense ever, because it's like, yeah, I'm still getting paid. But if it goes deeper than that, and maybe it is just kind of showing that resentment and potential heel turn, it would happen very quickly. I think after the title win. To your point,
if he does win the title, he's getting booed whether he turns heel to do it or not.
Exactly. And I honestly feel like if Reigns were to win, that's the only avenue of interest for me in the immediate moment of him having a title reign, is the idea, oh, okay, now he'll probably turn heel, because these fans are just unrelenting. They're not going to let it go.
Yeah.
But
the hilarious thing to me is everyone's talking about, oh, the main event is going to get booed out of the building. Not if Lesnar wins, and if Reigns does win and it gets booed out of the building, it makes sense for him to go heel. So it's a win-win, really.
And you know what? It's a win-win, all because we know, again, Lesnar is sticking around. Maybe it would be a little worse if we knew, like, he was like, I'm out, and he left. But he's sticking around, so if people are going to crap on this, I feel like these two guys, they don't have to stop their interactions with each other. In fact, I don't even think they will. I don't know if you said the same thing during our discussion, and you'll have to just remind me very quickly, but I do see potentially a rematch between these two, maybe even as soon as Extreme Rules. I don't know, because Lesnar is...
I doubt that. I think that if Lesnar's wrestling at Extreme Rules, it'll be either against, if, and this is a big if because not even we picked it to happen, but if Bray Wyatt beats Undertaker, that'll be his opponent.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. Or, again, if Randy Orton beats Seth Rollins, that will be his opponent.
Dude, when you said Bray Wyatt Lesnar, because that's a match I've actually thought a lot about lately, given Bray Wyatt's current trajectory and everything, that's another dream match for me. We need to get Orton out of the way first, but when we do, Bray Wyatt's the next immediate one on my list, because good God.
Out of the way. Orton's going to punt Lesnar into SummerSlam.
Oh, God, dude, that would be beautiful. But I have one question for you left.
Okay.
Just one.
Okay.
We know that Lesnar is going to be on the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yep.
We know he's going to be on
Cash in.
So, okay, because I was going to ask you, what do you see going down? Because something has to go down, whether he wins or loses.
No, I don't actually think that Rollins is going to cash in on him.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to happen. Do you think that maybe a next contender will step forward? Do you think it's just going to be a very straightforward promo?
I think they're going to establish who his next contender is, and most likely set up a match for them at Extreme Rules, if that's a thing. If not, maybe just start building for SummerSlam.
And you know what? SummerSlam to me would be just fine. I mean, hell, we even heard rumors of Dean Ambrose getting a push. How amazing would it be if it was Dean Ambrose?
Oh,
Dean fucking Ambrose.
See, and that's the thing. Like, if anyone's the perfect opponent for Brock at Extreme Rules, it's Dean.
Oh my God, that lovable lunatic. But yeah, I mean, I love that we're talking about Lesnar for the next 3 years and possibilities because
Yep.
that's just what makes him such an alluring commodity is the matches that he can have and that we'd be hyped for. I mean, again, for me, it's Lesnar Bray. I mean, Lesnar Orton immediately, then Lesnar Bray, Lesnar Cesaro, Lesnar Dean. I mean, just so many.
Lesnar Ryback.
Lesnar, right? But yes, feed me more of that shit. Absolutely. And I know James wants that match bad. Like that's is equivalent to Brian Lesnar for a lot of the Daniel Bryan fans. But just so many options now, and I think it all begins at WrestleMania. Again, I won't hate on Reigns if he wins, but man, I really want Lesnar to retain now that I know he's sticking around because I just feel like it's so much more viable.
Well, not
So
only do we want it to happen, but we're pretty confident that it will happen.
yeah, I can't imagine Lesnar losing right now. He's
And the crazy thing is, like, not only can I not imagine him losing from a logical booking standpoint, I can't imagine what it would take to put this Brock Lesnar down for 3.
And see, I can't either. Like, you want to talk about the imagination and visualizing things. I try and
Yeah,
visualize.
like a Superman punch and a spear, he's going to kick out not even at 1. He's going to kick out at 3/4 of a count.
And then, see, dude, that's the crazy thing. Like, I try and use my imagination to see Brock Lesnar getting pinned, and he's even conquered my own mind. Because
Like, I could imagine them doing, like, a freaking Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior spot where Reigns hits him with 10 spears in a row, and he kicks out at 1.
I'd see, that's just it, though, because it's like, no matter what.
Have you ever seen that match, WrestleMania, between Savage and Warrior?
I believe I have.
Yeah, because Savage did, I think it was 10 elbow drops.
Wasn't it?
Was it 3?
I think it was just 3. I don't think it was 10.
Okay, well, regardless, he hit a bunch of elbow drops in a row, and Warrior kicked out at 1.
Right, yeah. And Lesnar, I feel like, will do the same thing, yet with practically none of the hamminess, because it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I try and visualize him.
And that's the crazy thing, too, is Cena did 3 AAs, and then Rollins did a curb stomp, and Lesnar still kicked out at 2.
And that's just it. Like, I try and visualize him eating a 3 count every time he kicks out at 2, so he's even conquered my own imagination, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Nothing, Brock. I was just kind of fantasy booking you eating a 3 count. It's not happening. Okay. It's just like you leave it at that because you're not gonna do it. Like how? Because there's okay. There's fantasy booking that you and I do, and then there's insanity. And I'm sorry, no matter what you put in front of me that could put away Brock Lesnar, even Orton's punt, which is the closest I can think of right now, is really on the margins of insanity because of how he's been booked. That's why I feel like when he loses the championship, and I've even said this to you before, I don't even think he may even get pinned for it. I feel like that's the best course to take if you really want to legitimize somebody. But I feel like it'll be in a multi-man matchup. And then Lesnar has like that claim to a rematch, and maybe they'll even do the babyface turn that way because somebody snuck out with his title. And, now they're thinking they're hot shit because, I beat Brock Lesnar. You didn't beat Jack. And that could be the story. The guy's just too legit right now. I can't imagine what Roman Reigns could do to beat Brock Lesnar, so I'm sorry. As much as they want to make the narrative, I can. I'm sorry. You can't, and you won't. Brock Lesnar to retain, man. That's it.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say, man?
Nothing else.
Man, guys, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's preview and predictions. Like I said, I was so eager to do this video with Ashton because of Brock Lesnar re-signing, because I feel like that action reverberates throughout the entire card. Ashton already has his own theory of Vince McMahon's final middle finger to NXT. And, we don't know how this Mania is going to play out. Hopefully, Live Reactions is reflective of a show that we'll never forget and that has major implications for the Raws and the pay-per-views to follow. So we'll see. So I guess with that said, Ashton, I guess you could close us out, bud.
Listen, guys, say what you will about this WrestleMania, but at the end of the day, one word comes to mind, and that is unpredictable. Because anything could happen. You look at, I'm going to start at the bottom, we're just going to work our way up to the top. You look at, I think that the kickoff pre-show is the least unpredictable match on this card. It's the most predictable because I think that it's a given that Cesaro and Kid are winning. But you never know. I kind of doubt anyone else wins that match, but maybe Jay has recovered and they decide the Usos want the titles back. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I listed 4 guys. John listed 4 guys. We didn't have, we shared 3 guys. So all in all, 5 different guys could potentially win this thing. and that's if Sheamus is in it, which is doubtful, so really 4. You look at the, let's see, Rollins-Orton match. Rollins makes the most sense if you want to push the future. Orton makes logical sense based on the storyline. On the other hand, Orton did kind of have the last laugh on Rollins, so maybe they want to give Rollins his chance to get a one leg up on Orton. AJ and Paige versus the Bella Twins. Will Bree turn on Nikki? Will AJ and Paige actually have cohesion as a team? Will one of them pin Nikki and become the number 1 contender? You just don't know what's going to happen. And then you look at the undercard titles, or really mid-card / soon-to-be main event titles. Rusev, Cena. Here's the crazy thing. Everyone's saying it's a lock. John Cena's going to win. But for the last 2 or 3 years, in John Cena feuds leading up to WrestleMania, whoever gets the last laugh on the go-home Raw leading into WrestleMania tends to actually win the match. Last year, it was Cena and Bray, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but that was the show, the go-home show, where John Cena had the freaking jumpsuit and sheet mask on, and he showed up during the Wyatt's exit from the match and beat all 3 of them down. Guess who won that match? John Cena. So now we've got Rusev, an example of him getting the upper hand on Cena. Will Rusev win and shut the IWC up? Again, though, the Intercontinental Championship ladder match, I narrowed it down from a potential 8 down to a potential 6. And if we're looking exclusively at main event, down to a potential 4 guys that could win this match, maybe 5. I think that if we don't even know, the guy that we think is most likely to win might not even be in this match because he's not announced for it yet, Sheamus. And if he's not, who's going to freaking win? You've got a bunch of baby faces in there that everyone wants to see win, like Ziggler and Ambrose and Bryan. Barrett might end up retaining and just saying, ha ha ha, all this buildup was for nothing. On the other hand, Sting versus Triple H, Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker, 2 matches that we think are setting up for Sting versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 32. But if you really take a step back and look at it, you've got Triple H representing WWE, Sting representing WCW. Maybe Vince doesn't want to let his ego get checked by having the WCW guy go over and Triple H wins. And then you've got Bray Wyatt versus Taker. The streak is dead, so who cares if Taker loses another one, right? Wyatt's a young guy getting built up. Maybe the WWE wants to go forward with Wyatt versus Lesnar and kind of set up the 2 guys that have beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania going into a big match together. You never freaking know. And that brings us to Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. It comes down to A, Lesnar wins, B, Reigns wins and turns heel, or C, Reigns wins and Vince says, screw you, he's not turning heel yet until you force us to. There are so many options that we could get on this show. But regardless, whether you want to believe that this is going to be a great show or not, at the end of the day, you've got to admit that it's not a predictable show. And to me, that makes it something that you must watch. And because of the fact that it's unpredictable and must watch, that means that the WWE has done their job at building this freaking thing up.
I'm not even touching that. That was absolute perfection.
Ooh.
Guys, it's WrestleMania 31. Oh my God, so many implications for so many matches. I cannot wait for live reactions tomorrow night.
And speaking of live reactions, we're going to do live reactions to each match. I will upload each match's live reactions separately so you don't have to deal with a full 4 to 6 hour video of live reactions. That would be retarded. And on top of it, we're going to get retarded because on Monday night, the Raw after WrestleMania, we're doing live reactions for that too. And that actually is going to be a 3-hour video. So be prepared. Prepare your bodies for 2 consecutive nights of epic live reactions.
Yeah, TwitWow content is about to blow up, guys. You're about to see us with the fandom cranked on high volume. It's gonna be amazing. It's WrestleMania 31 and post-WrestleMania Raw live reactions. Oh, I can dig it!
Absolutely. We will see you guys for our WrestleMania play button live reactions.
Hell yes.